Let's bring in Jonathan Arnott, a UKIP MEP who joins us from Brussels, so from New York to Brussels. Jonathan, taking an egg out of an omelette, what do you think this process will be like? Are you for a hard Brexit?
I'm for a clean Brexit. We have to make sure that we get a deal which involves stopping paying into the EU budget. We've got to make sure we've got freedom to negotiate our own trade deals. We've got to make sure we're out of the European courts. We've got to make sure that we can control immigration, control our own fishing waters. So what we've got to do is actually put our front foot forward in the negotiations and say what it is that we want to achieve. And then within that, make sure that we get the best possible deal and that we negotiate there. But what we can't do is start our negotiation from a negative position, from a position of weakness. Actually, let's play to our strengths, because we've got some massive strengths as a nation, as an economy. And of course, the EU wants to trade with us, just like we want to trade with the EU. But we've also got to open our eyes to that wider world out there.
I mean, we can ask for anything we want. It doesn't mean Mrs May will get it, will it? This isn't going to be an easy ride, is it?
No, I don't think it is going to be an easy ride. But equally, yes, we can ask for things. But if we actually start by asking for what's a compromise already, you know what will happen in a negotiation. We'll end up with something even worse than what we've asked for. So let's start by asking for everything that we want before the negotiation begins, rather than starting from a compromise, which will end up being a lot worse if we do that.
But is it not reckless to leave... Richard's just described it as the biggest trading market in the world. He said we haven't looked back since. Leaving it very quickly, very sharply, is that a risk?
Well, actually, under the Lisbon Treaty, of course, there's a two-year negotiating period. When you look at somewhere like the United States, of course, the United States is actually a bigger economy than the 27 countries of the European Union. The only reason they talk about the EU as being the biggest market in the world is because you're actually including the UK within it. If you don't include the UK as part of it, then of course the USA is bigger, and of course the USA wants to do a trade deal with us. Yes, we do more trade with the EU at the moment than we do with the USA, but perhaps that's because we've got a trade deal with the EU, but we don't have a trade deal with the USA. So the key to all of this will be where we develop our trade deals, our trade links around the world, but make sure that what we've got with the European Union is still at least free trade, still at least giving us tariff-free access to that market.
Your former leader, of course, a big fan of Donald Trump. Have you got as much faith in Donald Trump's promises to us?
Depends what you're talking about. I mean, as a person, I'm not keen on Donald Trump at all. I really didn't like a lot of the things that he said and did during his election campaign. So I'm not somebody who's got any great love for Donald Trump, the person, frankly. What I will say, though, is I think he is genuine about wanting a trade deal with the UK, and I think it will be, frankly, a free trade deal that he wants with the UK. And when Richard talked about protectionism, I think Trump takes that protectionist view when he's talking about an American trade deal with countries with lower wage economies. So when he talks about America and Mexico, say, he's concerned about jobs going to a lower wage economy and effectively American business interests being undercut. Actually, when you're talking about a deal with the USA and the UK, that's something very, very different. There's no need, from Trump's point of view, to have that kind of protectionism between the US and the UK. So I think actually we will get a free trade deal between the UK and the USA, and I think it could be a very good one. So in that one area alone, then I think it will help.
Appreciate you joining us from Brussels. Jonathan Arnott, UKIP MEP.